Hello and welcome to this video on revolving versus non-revolving debt. As someone who wants to manage their finances effectively, it's essential to understand the differences between these two types of debt. Let's begin with revolving debt. Revolving debt is a type of debt that is associated with credit cards and lines of credit. The term revolving refers to the fact that the borrower can use and repay the credit multiple times without having to apply for a new loan each time. With revolving debt, the borrower is given a credit limit, which is the maximum amount they can borrow. They can borrow up to this limit at any time, and the lender will charge interest on the amount borrowed until it is repaid. Revolving debt is different from non-revolving debt, such as installment loans, which are a one-time loan that is repaid over a set period, typically with fixed monthly payments. The minimum payment on revolving debt is usually a small percentage of the balance owed, typically around 2–3% per month. However, if the borrower only pays the minimum payment each month, it can take a long time to pay off the debt, and they will end up paying a lot in interest. Revolving debt can be convenient for those who need to borrow money for short-term needs and can be helpful for building credit if used responsibly. However, it can quickly spiral out of control if the borrower is not careful, leading to high levels of debt and interest charges. It's essential to use revolving debt responsibly to avoid getting into financial trouble. Borrowers should avoid carrying a balance on their credit card if possible, and pay off their debt as soon as possible to minimize interest charges. Now let's move on to non-revolving debt. Non-revolving debt refers to a type of loan where a borrower receives a lump sum of money from a lender and repays the loan in installments over a fixed period of time, typically with a fixed interest rate. Examples of non-revolving debt include mortgages, car loans, and personal loans. With non-revolving debt, the borrower borrows a specific amount of money and agrees to repay it over a set period, usually ranging from a few months to several years. Each installment payment made by the borrower typically consists of a portion of the principal amount borrowed and a portion of the interest charged on the outstanding balance. Unlike revolving debt, where the borrower can borrow and repay the credit multiple times without having to apply for a new loan each time, non-revolving debt is a one-time loan. Once the loan is repaid, the borrower cannot borrow any more money from the lender unless they apply for a new loan. Non-revolving debt is typically associated with large purchases, such as homes or cars, that require a significant amount of money that the borrower may not have readily available. Because the loan is repaid over a fixed period of time, usually with fixed monthly payments, borrowers can budget for the payments and plan their finances accordingly. One benefit of non-revolving debt is that the interest rate is usually fixed, meaning that the borrower knows exactly how much they need to pay each month to pay off the loan. This can provide peace of mind and help the borrower plan their finances more effectively. However, one downside of non-revolving debt is that it does not provide the same flexibility as revolving debt. Once the loan is repaid, the borrower cannot borrow any more money from the lender unless they apply for a new loan. Additionally, if the borrower misses a payment or defaults on the loan, their credit score may be negatively impacted. In summary, non-revolving debt is a type of loan that provides borrowers with a lump sum of money that is repaid over a fixed period with fixed monthly payments. It is typically associated with large purchases and can be beneficial for borrowers who need to budget for the payments. However, it does not provide the same flexibility as revolving debt, and borrowers should be careful to make payments on time to avoid negatively impacting their credit score. So, what are the pros and cons of each type of debt? Revolving debt can be convenient for those who need to borrow money for short-term needs, and it can be helpful for building credit if used responsibly. However, revolving debt can quickly spiral out of control if the borrower is not careful, leading to high levels of debt and interest charges. Revolving debt. Pros. 1. Flexibility. Revolving debt provides the borrower with the flexibility to borrow money as needed, up to a credit limit, without having to apply for a new loan each time. 2. Convenience. Credit cards and other revolving credit accounts are widely accepted, making them a convenient way to make purchases or pay bills. 3. Can help build credit. If the borrower uses revolving credit responsibly, it can help build their credit score. Cons. 1. High interest rates. Revolving debt typically has higher interest rates than non-revolving debt, making it more expensive to borrow money over time. 2. Potential for debt to spiral out of control. The flexibility of revolving debt can lead to overspending and high levels of debt, which can be difficult to repay. 3. Minimum payments. The minimum payments on revolving debt are often only a small percentage of the balance owed, which can lead to long repayment periods and high levels of interest charges. Non-revolving debt, on the other hand, is beneficial for those who need to borrow larger sums of money and can budget for fixed monthly payments. However, because the borrower cannot borrow more once the loan is repaid, non-revolving debt does not provide the same flexibility as revolving debt. Non-revolving debt. Pros. 1. Fixed monthly payments. Non-revolving debt has fixed monthly payments, which can make it easier for borrowers to budget and plan for their expenses. 2. Lower interest rates. Non-revolving debt typically has lower interest rates than revolving debt, making it less expensive to borrow money over time. 3. Better for long-term debt. Non-revolving debt is better suited for larger expenses that require longer repayment periods, such as mortgages or car loans. Cons. 1. Less flexibility. Non-revolving debt is a one-time loan, so once the borrower has repaid the loan, they cannot borrow more without applying for a new loan. 2. May require collateral. Some non-revolving loans, such as secured loans, may require collateral to secure the loan, which can put the borrower's assets at risk if they are unable to repay the loan. 3. Can be more difficult to obtain. Non-revolving loans may require a more stringent approval process than revolving credit accounts, and the borrower may need to provide documentation of their income, credit history, and other financial information. It's important to note that both types of debt have their advantages and disadvantages, and the best type of debt for an individual will depend on their financial situation and needs. It's crucial to use both types of debt responsibly to avoid getting into financial trouble. In conclusion, both revolving and non-revolving debt have their advantages and disadvantages, and the best type of debt for you depends on your financial situation and needs. It's essential to understand the differences between these two types of debt and to use them responsibly to avoid getting into financial trouble. That's all for today's video. Thank you for watching, and I hope you found this information helpful. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them below, and I'll be happy to respond.